Hello, today's Bible study comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verses 10 through 12, and it reads as follows. And here is my judgment about what is best for you in this matter. Last year you were in the first, not only to give, but also to have the desire to do so. Now finish the work, so that your eager willingness to do it may be matched by your completion of it, according to your means. For if the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one does not have. If you notice here, Paul is still talking and he says, now you must complete the doing of it. Now, they had talked about they wanted to give, and now Paul is saying, hey, you said you wanted to give and you were ready to give. Now it's time to do it. And I'm sending Titus who's coming to do it. And a completion out of what you have. Like I said earlier, you can't give what you don't have, okay? It's not built that way. God actually looks at what we have to give. He doesn't tell you a certain amount. He doesn't tell you a certain percentage. He doesn't command you to give. But what you have, the issue of what you have is important, and how we spend it. And that's time, money, and everything else. But if you look at this verse, you can also see it's telling you to be better stewards of with what you have. Because if you spend everything, it dictates on how you can give. Okay. And just like when we overspend or you overdraft your account or whatever, you spent too much. Maybe you're looking into too much of you and you'll use that as an excuse to not give to others or to the Lord. And we shouldn't do that. Okay. That's just something I think that those texts be saying to me sometimes. If there is first a willing mind, remember that our mind has to be willing to give. You notice that the Macedonians gave themselves to the Lord first, and they got ready to give it to us. There was a readiness to give to Him. And this is how your heart works when it's in the giving mode. You're willing to do it and you're ready to do it. And this has to work not for rich or poor, but for the generous person. It doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor. If you're a generous person, you'll be ready to give and you'll be willing to give. Just because you have more and gave more in money doesn't mean you gave more than a person who had less and gave what they had. Remember the rich man and the poor woman. She gave out of poverty, he gave out of wealth. She gave all. So let's not get that twisted. But your resources say you have the ability to give more. It is accepted according to what one has. Very important. It is not according to what one does not have. It is according to what one has, and not according to what he does not have. And I just knew the verse and just jumped the gun. And excuse me. God doesn't expect you to give what you don't have. You can't outdo God giving, okay? But He does not expect you to give what you don't have. If you are a follower of Christ, okay, if you don't have it, you can't give it. The Lord knows that. But if you have it and can give it and you don't, the Lord also knows that, okay? If And I just spoke about the rich woman, the rich man and the poor woman, but that's how it's seen. That is it. He had resources. She had little resources. She gave her resources. He looked good to man. It looked good to view, but in God's eyes, He doesn't see it that way. It's by your resources. If we look at the building the church, well, we look at people who give a lot and we say, oh, what a great tither or whatever. We should never look at that in the first place because they might have more and ain't giving enough. And the person who is a great giver, who's giving very little, but that is what they have, is giving all that they have. And their heart is right because their readiness and willingness in their mind is giving what they have. God sees all those things. That giving thing is a grace extended by God, and it should be extended to God. We should feel that way when we give. And when we're giving, it is truly between you and the Lord. I can't dictate what you have. I can't dictate what you give. I can't tell you to bring your W-2 in or that you should give 1,000 in this basket or 500 in that basket. That is not my call. I'm a man. It tells you right here. It is accepted according to what one has and not according to what he does not have. The Lord knows what you have. You may look good on paper, but you may not be good on paper. You might look bad on paper, but be good in other ways. So that's between you and the Lord. And I know people talk of tithing, and you have to look at tithing and see what it is. Okay. But you can say, okay, I base that 10%, but that's Old Testament. That is also about giving of food. But in the New Testament, it does not talk about tithing. Okay? And it definitely doesn't speak of it in a good way. Because we're supposed to do this with the right heart, a good heart. And if you look and you can see it, you'll see it in the gospel. There's a Luke, book of Luke is talking about tithing. I think it's to the Pharisee, but there's no talk of truly tithing in the New Testament. Um, it speaks on teaching us how to give. It tells us to set aside a sum at the beginning of the week. Paul even said that, even in Second Corinthians, a few chapters back, maybe one chapter back. So we are supposed to give from our heart of what we have, and we have to have the willingness and readiness to give. Amen.